What is going on is absolutely tragic. It is really tragic. I mean, the last year, I think 2.8 million people have been displaced again. And that's on top of all the others who've been displaced. In the last 24 hours, 500 people killed in Ramadi. And you think, where will this end? How will this end? It goes on and on and on.
Emma Sky volunteered to go to Iraq to help rebuild the country following the 2003 war. Within weeks, she was civilian governor of a province. Within 4 years, she was advising America's most senior general in Iraq. They took to her because she challenged them.
I think the British accent helps. Americans like the British accents, and so when they hear Brits speaking, they think, wow, that's authoritative. And I was prepared to talk to them, to discuss, to debate with them, and to push back a lot of the time on them, the way that they framed things in terms of good guys, bad guys. For me, everybody you meet can be your friend or your enemy, depending on how you treat them.
Sky was there when the country descended into civil war, still there when the Americans sent thousands of extra troops in the surge of 2007. But she says the chances of stability began to slip away when President Obama came to power.
His focus was domestic. And for the sake of his campaign and domestic audience, it was all about bringing the troops back home. And that was very popular. So that was his focus. Iraq was on the path to a better future. And unfortunately, that opportunity was lost.
Because he lost focus?
He didn't lose focus, it was never his focus. He was never focused on Iraq per se, he was focused on ending the war.
She argues that America's support for the divisive Shia Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki proved a catalyst for the rise of IS.
He was getting stronger and stronger and stronger, becoming the authoritarian leader that everybody had warned us about. So Sunni and Shia and Kurd had said, don't support Maliki. He's going to become more and more dictatorial, which is what happened. So he went after the Sunnis. This led to protests, widespread protests in Sunni areas. Those protests were crushed through violence. And this created the space for the Islamic State to rise its head. Islamic State is sort of the son of Al-Qaeda in Iraq. And Sunnis looked at the Iranian-backed government of Maliki, they looked at the Islamic State, and they made the awful choice, some of them, the Islamic State was the lesser of two evils. People lost faith in the political process. All the messaging was, America wants out. All the domestic messaging to end the war was viewed in the region as America wants out. And because Iran became more and more powerful, the narrative was that Iran had driven America out of Iraq, that America had handed Iraq to Iran on a silver platter. And so this created even greater competition between the Iranians and the Gulf countries, which led to them supporting these extreme actors in Iraq and across the region.
You lost friends, both Iraqis and soldiers, in the American military. Do you feel betrayed by what's happened? I
think betrayal is too harsh a word. It's
angry?
I feel angry, I feel upset. I don't feel there was some nasty conspiracy somewhere. Mistakes were made. So I feel angry. You wonder what all that sacrifice was for. All those lives. While we were there, we were always telling ourselves, we're going to give the Iraqis the opportunity for a better future. That's what kept us going.
Do you have hope for Iraq?
The people running Iraq today are the same elites that have been there for the last decade. So I don't have hope that this group is going to be able to resolve Iraq's problems. What they have done since they've been in power is take the wealth of the country for their own interests. They've subverted the institutions that we introduced. They have used the security forces to go after political rivals. These are not statesmen. These are not politicians who, I think, can build a better Iraq. More needs to be done to create a better balance between Iran and the Gulf states. Because it's its lack of balance that has led to this proxy wars, the support of these sectarian actors and creating these proxy wars. But the problems in Iraq are much bigger than ISIS. ISIS is a symptom of the change in the balance of power. It's a symptom of poor governance. When you talk to Iraqis, no Iraqi wants to live under the sort of state that the Islamic State provides. There's nothing optimistic in that future. It's leading to the end of days. Young Iraqis want to live in a society that looks like Dubai, not Daesh, not the Islamic State. But to destroy the Islamic State, the only people who can really destroy it are the Sunnis living in Iraq. And they're only going to turn against it when they see it can't win, that there are better alternatives, and they're being supported. So at the moment, not enough is being done to try and get the Sunnis to turn against the Islamic State and to support them to turn against the Islamic State.
You once said to me that the British think a lot more about what the Americans think than the Americans think about the British. Is that true?
No, I think that's very true. I mean, Britain all the time, what do Americans think of us? In America, people are not hanging around talking about what they think of Britain, but they do value Britain as an ally. And I think there's concern now that the British military has got so small, can it be an ally? And what sort of role does Britain want to play in the world?
If the Americans asked you to go back to help them sort out the current mess in Iraq, would you go?
No.